Welcome to Cravings Control for Fat Loss. I'm your host, Laura Cavallo, former sugar binger, overeater, and yo-yo dieter turned fat loss and cravings coach for hundreds of busy women. Here at Cravings Control for Fat Loss, I'll be sharing mindset, movement, and metabolism strategies for those who are ready to ditch the fat diet cycle and slim down without counting calories, tracking points, or giving up any of the foods they love. Get ready to embrace progress over perfection, grace over guilt, and bring curiosity and learning to the inevitable ups and downs of your life. Expect a decrease in your cravings while seeing and feeling an improvement in how you look, how you feel, and your overall quality of life. I am so excited you're here, boo. Let's get started. Welcome to today's episode. Today I'm talking with Patty Graham, fit mom over 40, who started her fitness journey after being a stay-at-home mom for most of her life. She loves all things fitness and knows how hard it can be to fit it in and make it happen for yourself. We talk about Patty's journey from doing cardio in classes to finding strength training. Now she's a jack of all trades, participating in all different movement and activities, including yoga, kickboxing, pole dancing, and boot camps. Patty wants you to know that age is only a number, and if you want to get fit and healthy, even while raising your kids, it's totally possible. Follow her at pgfitness.com, and you can find a link to her programs below. Welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura, your cravings coach, and today I'm here with Patty Graham. I am so excited to have her on the show and to chat with her today. Hi, Patty.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this.
Yay!
I'm so glad to be here. So thank you for having me on.
Of course. I'm excited to have you on. I mean, you and I met a few years ago in a business course, and I was immediately just drawn to your energy. I love that you are a mom. I love that you're in your 40s. I love that you are a trainer. I love that you vary your training. I see you in yoga. I see you doing pole dancing. I see you doing strength training. I see you doing all sorts of stuff. And I just think that you're such an inspiration, especially for women in their 40s. And so I wanted to have you on and so that you could share a little bit about your journey.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I realize sometimes I really am doing all the things, but I do have an issue with I just want to do all the things. And so sometimes it's hard for me to just get down into one thing and do that all the time because I just have this I have this issue and I didn't get to do things when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I was a young mom, and so I was immediately put into this container,
Yeah.
and didn't have a lot of freedom and things like that. So now that my kids are older and grown, I have this new lease on life, and so like I'm just gonna live it.
Wow. I have the chills. I literally have the chills. We
Oh,
have to talk about that. So, where did you grow up? Tell me about your experience with fitness and nutrition as a kid into your 20s. What was that like?
so I grew up in an inner city, like here in California, and I have a really random funny story. I had a later in life father. He was 71 when I was born, and my mom was a lot younger. It was just sort of like a situation. But so growing up with them, there was no talk really about health and fitness and good nutrition and things like that. My dad was definitely from an older generation, like much older generation. So things look different. So I'm 46. Things look different back then than they look now anyway. And my mother, unfortunately, was not like the most healthiest of people. She was very, very thin, was a smoker. I mean, that was an era where my mom sat at the dinner table with an ashtray
Oh,
and
yeah.
cigarettes.
Yep.
We would go to restaurants and you had to have smoking and non-smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we cooked at home a lot, my parents ate out. Going out to eat was like a treat. When it came around that you could order pizza to your house, that was a big freaking deal.
Mm-hmm.
But still, we lived off of a lot of canned goods, and my mom fried a lot of things and things like that. So even though we were playing outside and doing a lot of those things, there really is not an emphasis growing up with what good nutrition looked like. I played sports through high school, and that was my physical activity. And
What'd you play?
I played a little bit of softball, and then once hit high school, I was on the swim team. I played a little
Nice.
water polo. And it's funny, my girlfriend, I joke all the time, we're like, well, back when I was in high school, because we get stuck in this, like, at this point where we were probably the most active and the most fit, and then we become adults, and like, we still hang on to that like high school identity.
Mm-hmm.
But in high school, I was like the chubbier friend. So all my friends were very thin. Even though my mom was very thin, I was not. Because I
Mm-hmm.
like to eat, and we ate a lot of probably like processed food
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't fill you up, we know, and then you just eat more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then right out of high school, I had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19 when I became a mom and had to go to work because we had no money. So I didn't have a lot of time to learn about like a lot of nutrition and things like that. So it took a while for me to figure it out for myself. And there's just like a lot of key factors that come into play like over the years.
Thanks for sharing all that. Yeah, I remember being in the States. I grew up in Italy, but my mom and dad both smoked cigarettes, and then my grandparents smoked cigarettes too. And at the kitchen table, my grandpa had his
Mm-hmm.
little Tupperware container of like tobacco. He would roll his own cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
Like no filter, tobacco
Yeah.
straight into the paper. And yeah, I mean, I have pictures of my dad changing my diaper with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. It's
I know,
like
it's such a different world, right?
totally. And
Like,
now I
how did
can't
we
even
survive?
right. And now I can't even be around cigarette smoke because it's like impacts me so much. I don't know if that's just
Mm-hmm.
growing up around it or
Oh,
whatnot.
yeah.
But something interesting that you said is like my mom wasn't healthy. She was really thin, but she was a smoker. Right. And most of us and most people equate being healthy with being thin.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important as just a sidebar is like just because you're thin or a certain weight doesn't necessarily equal health, right? And just
Oh,
because you're
exactly.
healthy, or even if you're in a bigger body, that doesn't necessarily mean unhealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to mention that. So you are now a mom of three. So through your
Mm-hmm.
20s and 30s, you were raising babies.
Yeah.
And what was it like being a stay-at-home mom? What was your relationship with your body, with your health, with your kids? And what got you into fitness in your mid 30s?
So when I was probably middle of the road in between all my pregnancies. So my kids, between my oldest one and my youngest one, it's like 6 years. So I had like a 4 year gap and a 2 year gap. And with my first one, I was still really young and I lost a ton of weight after I had him because I was sick all the time and we were broke as fuck. So we had no money to like buy a bunch of food and things. And then with my daughter, I gained like an average amount of weight. And then I spent like that postpartum period, like trying to diet down, right? So after being very thin, and then for unexplained reasons, like maybe not healthy reasons, and then you gain some weight back, you tend to find yourself in this like, oh my God, I was so skinny. I was so
Mm-hmm.
skinny. And at
Mm-hmm.
that point, I weighed the least that I had always. So I was chubby in high school. And then for me to hit, and my weight would always range like 156, 154, whatever. That was like my standard weight if I ever even had a scale to step on.
Right.
And then after I had my first son, my lowest weight that I remember ever like stepping on the scale was 129. So then that number stuck in my head because
Mm-hmm.
I had a pair of shorts that were hanging off of me at that point. And I just remember always in between the kids trying to get back to that number and not even really knowing like that wasn't a healthy number. I was sick so much and I was never eating and I was
Mm-hmm.
working and I was taking care of a baby. My body was not in good shape,
Mm-hmm.
but you just get stuck on that. And then you get stuck on how it feels to be skinny and everyone telling you, oh my God, you look so good. You just had a
Right.
baby.
The
Well, no,
validation.
like I'm hungry. Like I've been sick. And so after my daughter is when they had the Fen series out and like all the big diet pills,
Oh,
Metabolife and
yep.
that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I took those and I would like get down a little bit and then stop taking things. And then, I could not sustain like starving myself and things like that. And my third pregnancy ended up just being, we're not expecting to have another baby and things like that. I gained the most weight after him because again like your lifestyle changes, you get a little bit older, you have a little bit more money, you can eat different foods and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
so, and this is actually a big thing, so I went from being with my mom, my family, where we cooked a lot, we ate at home a lot, to a family that ate takeout all the time. Like I don't know how things were before I came along, but I'd never seen a family eat so much fast food before.
Mm-hmm. And
And like, I
is
mean, it
this
was,
your ex-husband's side you're saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're great people, but until I like started living with them, nobody cooked. I cooked. I would cook sometimes. And, but like every meal was like drive through, drive through, drive through, drive through. And so it was, so going into that and then being married to someone who really found a lot of like joy or satisfaction or, you know, like that's a whole nother like topic of like having so much access to fast food.
Mm-hmm.
My weight was higher by that time. And after my third child, I had the hardest time like losing the weight. So I'm
Right.
27, 28 years old. So clearing up into my 30s. But I will say, I always would try to work out. With my oldest son, I would do mommy and me swimming classes and I would drop him off and I would try to swim laps at the pool or I would do like walks or jogs if I could get someone to take care of my son, but I didn't have a lot of knowledge. Like all I did was swimming. I didn't have anything to know what to do. And then after my daughter, I became a stay-at-home mom. So I had a little bit more time like within the day to try to figure some things out and then actually started watching aerobic videos.
Mm-hmm.
Like cuz there was a TV channel if you got up early in the morning and could make the shows in time, like you could watch these exercise shows and follow along. So I would do some of that stuff, but everything for a really long time was sporadic because I didn't know how to organize myself and I didn't know that it was more important to just do a little bit than just do nothing at all. Like I really do have like battled a long time like that all or nothing mindset, just like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else.
Right.
And so as I got into my 30s when my youngest son turned 4 and it was a little bit of a struggle getting him to stay in we'd finally joined a gym and he didn't like the daycare, but once he hit kindergarten and I had just like that little block of time during the morning by myself, like it just opened up a whole new world. And I even though for a long time I tried to work out at home, tried to do all these little things, like once I hit the gym, like that was my place. Like
Mm.
I love it. Lucky for me, when I see other people working out, when I just driving down the road and I see somebody jogging, I feel inspired. And so then it makes me want to do it.
That is
And
amazing.
and so I will fortunately for myself like take some action at some point to do just enough. And so I feel like my weight just managed itself from my like sporadic attempts. So I can't say I'm a kind of middle of the road. I was never dramatically overweight and I was never very, very thin like my mom. But I definitely did battle the body image after having babies a lot and not really knowing what I was doing wrong or not. Like I didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
direction. I just kind of randomly jumped into things, did the Atkins diet, did this diet, did
Right.
the diet pills, and I just had no idea like what I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
so it was not consistent until I actually got some freedom.
Yeah. And you had that time for yourself to,
Which is hard, like as a mom. Yeah. Like
yeah.
it's very real. Like when I have moms and they're like, yeah, I just, you know, like their whole day could be planned out. And then like I had a client the other day, as soon as she walked in, the school called and said her son was throwing up in the office. So there are a lot of barriers when you're a mom to just really trying to accomplish your goals.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very real situation and it's kind of hard.
So you can speak to that. You can speak to new moms and moms with, more than one or two kids
Yeah. Yeah.
and moms that don't have knowledge, moms that don't know what to do or where to start. And so your struggles with body image, was that coming from the validation that people were giving you when you were thin and now you were a little bit bigger and you were like, okay, something's wrong? Was that coming from media, TV? Was it coming from at home? Where was this push pull within yourself of my body's not looking how I want it to, or I'm not happy with where I'm at? Can you remember?
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, it probably started when I was young. Even the difference between me and my own sister, we're kind of contrasted. Like growing up, I was always the heavier set of the two. And even though I was the most active and did all the things, and so it would just be like we couldn't trade clothes because I couldn't fit into like her clothes and things
Right.
like that. And I can't remember if my parents ever said anything about weight, but definitely junior high, high school, when the majority of my friends were very thin and getting the attention of the boys because they were very thin and things like that. And then closer toward the end of high school, like I got like heavier. So because I started working, I had a job working at a fast food restaurant. So again, you have all this access
Yep.
to foods that are like really terrible for you at a huge discount. And when you're not used to like having access to that stuff prior because your parents didn't like have the money and things like that, you don't know how to moderate it, you don't know how to regulate
Yeah.
it. And so then after, yeah, so it was like a huge feeling of after I had my son that I got so thin that I felt so good because now I wasn't like fat.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to live in this perpetual like cycle of like testing out. Like I hung on to those shorts that were sagging off of me for years. They were like my tester shorts to see how
Mm.
fat or how skinny I was. Like
Wow.
I still wish I had them so now I could have it for content, but like you're just like at one point I was just like I have to get rid of this. I have to stop like this
Yeah.
insanity of like testing myself to how I was at 20 years old in a very unhealthy state.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a lot.
And now you probably were with your first kid in the 140s, 150s, and now you have way more muscle and your body
Totally,
probably
totally.
looks so different.
I say it all the time. I would say those years of kids. So maybe in high school I was around the 150s, but the only good thing that ever came from the Atkins diet was that it taught you to not drink your calories. So like I had switched and I've been like a non-calorie drinker for years. So then that kind of maintained my weight in the 140s. So I can tell you my 145 pounds now is dramatically different than 145 pounds 20 years ago.
Right.
So like
Yep.
that whole body composition. And
Mm-hmm.
you just spend all this time thinking, I just have to be skinnier. I have to be skinnier. And like not even realizing that that number that you're striving for is probably the most unrealistic and unsustainable number that there could be for you.
Yeah. And so when you finally got that hour and a half, your kid's in daycare,
Hmm.
he's in kindergarten, you've got this time to yourself. Where did you learn how to exercise? And who are your early mentors or people that inspired you or taught you about fitness?
So again, we didn't have that age of all the social media things that we have now. So when I saw that question, I was like, gosh, I have to really look back and think. I mean, I guess my earliest things would be like high school coaches, right? That were like there for some of your physical fitness, but that's super limited. When I started doing the workout videos and things like that, I'm going to tell you, do you know who Denise Austin is? Do you remember who that is?
Yes, I used to train her daughter in Los Angeles.
Oh,
One
really?
one of her daughters. Yeah, not her fitness daughter, her other daughter. Yeah. Yeah.
So I loved her. Like I thought she was the most entertaining person.
She
And
is. She's such a ball of energy. You have to follow her on Instagram.
oh, I have to. I
She's
didn't know she has Instagram.
hysterical. Yeah.
So I would love. So she was fit, but she had muscles. Even at a young age, I feel like I idolized a lot of like female comic book characters, like that, like sexy but like muscular
Fit,
type of look.
athletic. Yep.
Yes, and so
Like
and
Wonder
she was.
Woman.
Yes, so she was like that though. And I mean, she's a little short, but like she was like that. And so those are the things that I am drawn to. And so as I started going to the gym, started buying like the Shape magazines, and I'll say too, I know she gets a lot of negative things now, but like back then, Jillian Michaels would be in a lot of the magazines that I would read. And again, like she was lean, but had muscle and it didn't look ultra skinny, right? Like I could say I would look at skinny girls, like very slender girls. So I don't want to like put a negative connotation on that, but that was not for me, right? Like I never envisioned myself in that format. And so when I started working out and things like that in my brain, I thought losing weight, getting skinny was going to give me that. And so I spent a very good amount of time stuck doing cardio because also I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do on the gym floor. I knew some exercises to do with dumbbells and things because of watching the videos. But when you're doing home workout videos, they're using like 5 pounds, 8 pounds, like very light weights. And so you just still stay on that path because you think that's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just spent a long time doing that. So I would say those were my first ones. And I mean, at any point now, like, I mean, you could just take your pick, like, of any of like the fitness fitness people, like once social media started opening up and like we got smartphones and things like that, I feel like you got flooded with a lot of people. And so what you like and what you enjoyed tends to like vary and change through the years.
Yeah. So when did you decide to become a trainer and get into fitness and make this a career for yourself? And at that point, when you decided, had you gotten to a place with your physique that you felt strong and fit and athletic and kind of that look that you had aspired to? Or were you like, this makes me feel good on a day to day. I just want to keep showing up and, help other women do the same?
So part of me being in the gym, I feel like I so identify with it. I feel like that is like a happy space for me. I mean, we don't love all the aspects of what that is, right? But just being around people that are working out. And so when I started getting into the gym, I did a shit ton of cardio until I met this girl who like kind of took me around the gym floor, showed me some things. And then I had like some training sessions and that guy showed me some things. That guy taught me about calories. And then that I was like, oh my God, what? And because I was like killing myself with all this cardio and having very little results, right? Like, and then that put me on like a more like directional path. But when I was in the gym, I was like, I love this. And then I would watch the other trainers and I would be so excited. I was like, I could do this. Like I could totally do this. But because I just really love like the whole atmosphere. I love exercise.
Yeah.
I love all the aspects of it, right? Like, yes, I love the heavy weights, but I also love the TRX and I love the Bosu and I love, like I love all the different modalities and stuff. But we at that time were living in an area where it was extremely impacted by the housing crash. And I knew that like who was going to pay for personal training when they were all losing their houses, because we were losing our house too. And so when we moved down here to the San Diego area, it's just definitely a bigger area for people who do pay money for taking care of themselves. That was not the environment that I was in for the most part. And so like you were the odd man out if you were like a fit person, right? If you were going to the gym all the time. And everyone else was like the like the New Year's resolution people that did it for a little bit
Right.
and then they stopped doing it and then they make
Yep.
jokes about it all year long, right? So, and that's okay. Like it's just a different type of place. So when I came down here, we were here for like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, and I was like, my kids are bigger, they don't need me as much. Like I could do this a little bit part time, and so I just got certified. And I can't say early on I was still like a big cardio bunny. I was still doing quite a fair amount of cardio and then maybe not as much on the gym floor, but also that started to transition being down in an area where there were so many more women, and it was because they're in the competitor space that were lifting heavier weights and things like that. And so I was like, oh, like I could do that. I could do that. Like, and I just, again, found happiness and like just more direction in like trying to lift more and do, like in that arena. Like I enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
it's just been a slow progression because some of my earlier pictures when I show them are at the beginning of my training career where I was just
Yeah.
slender, right? Like I
Yeah.
had some muscle because I was working out, but I was just slender and still probably only eating 1,500 calories a day. And then it's just changed also. Once you become a trainer, right? Like you learn all of these things and you have a lot of aha moments in your own training experience.
Yeah. And it's interesting because to your point of like, even when I first became a trainer, I didn't know what I was doing. I like got my certification. I liked to help people. I wanted to change my life. And I was like, I'm going to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know who I was helping or that I wanted to
Right.
work specifically with women or that I liked using the barbell versus kettlebells or whatever it is. And 10 fad diets later,
Mm-hmm.
5 years down the line, I'm like, okay, let's figure out something more sustainable. And so I find that through our own challenges and progression as trainers over the years, we find who we like to work with and how we like to help people and in what arena.
Right. And then, I mean, when you get into the space and it was like the newer age of Instagram, you still get swept up into like what these other people are doing and what they're saying. And So in the beginning, like in my own weight loss experience and going into the gym and stuff, how they're promoting, you can only eat this or you can only eat that. And you're just like, wait, what? I never did any of that. And I did just fine. And then you start to get a little pulled in that direction, like you're doing something wrong. So the more that I get into this and the more workshops that I do and the more coaches that I like read books from and podcasts and things like that, my own experience has been very correct. There's not like a lot of right or wrong ways, but like this could be better. And sometimes it takes a little bit to figure out what is better for you, which is why I like one-on-one so much, because everyone is different. Everyone has a different circumstance. Everyone has a different situation, limitations, and just a way that feels better for them. So we just have this like big spectrum of like where you want to look versus what you want to put into it. And so everyone is at a different place on that spectrum, right? And so I think it's exciting for me to help these people like figure out like what it really takes for this at-home mom to look like a bodybuilder, or if that's really going to match up on that gradient. So
right, how much she wants to sacrifice for the look,
or how much can you like it's a lot.
If you're enjoying the podcast, it would mean so much to me if you took less than 2 minutes to give us 5 stars and submit a quick review. Your feedback helps other women who are looking for help with their cravings and fat loss goals find us more easily and benefit from the free content we share. Thank you so much. It truly means a lot. So do you tend to work mostly with women that are like moms or career women, or who do you like to work with mostly now, and who do you mostly work with?
Well, I try to, online is definitely all women, and it is women who primarily have children, but maybe not infants. Like women who have school-age children, because they do have a little bit more time to tend to themselves as opposed to like being a newborn mom where you really have like a lot of other things going on. I do get women all across the board. I get young women. I get young women who have no kids. I get older women who have no kids also. And then I do have a fair amount of women who are postmenopausal, menopausal. And I do love the fact that there are so many important anchors and actions that apply to us all across the board, and that I get to help all of these women put that together and like do the thing.
Yeah. Can you share what some of those anchors are for you and for how you get to coach your clients?
Yeah. So the importance of how much we weight lift, and then to continue, because we've all been there, like the sporadic, even in the beginning when my kids were younger and I was just hitting the gym. As a mom with younger kids, you always have these points of, oh, now the kids are on Christmas vacation. Oh, now it's spring break. Oh, now it's summer vacation. And you essentially are forced to take these breaks because they're all home. And if you are someone like myself who did not have a lot of help with their kids on the day-to-day basis, you are the last person in line. And it sucks and it's not fair, but sometimes that's just the case. So you have to work around by working at home and stuff like that, working out at home, things like that. So what I didn't know is how much, if you kept going with certain things at home during that time, you won't feel so defeated when you head back to the gym once the kids are back in school. And so if you are spending 6 months lifting really well and consistently and showing up, then that 2-week break, 6-week break, 2-month break's not going to be super impactful, right? Like you can get back to it. I didn't have a lot of direction. And so it is my gift to be able to help someone navigate through those points when like it gets hard.
Yeah. Okay. So you talk about consistent resistance training as one of your anchors.
Yes. And so then we have the importance of protein, calorie tracking overall, because again, that was the thing that, yes, we can sometimes get results like without tracking like where we're at and stuff, but a lot of times there's a lot of holes. And so I was doing all of these things and I had no idea what was going on until that trainer taught me that like, this is your calorie input and like, this is what you have to meet so that you can lose weight. And I started seeing results. And then that spiraled into searching all these like meal plans and all these programs and things like that on how to like put food together. So I spent a really long time collecting. And then we learned the importance of protein in our diet, like having a high protein diet changes so much for us, our cravings, right? How our body looks, and then how we can essentially maintain like this physique look, even if we're not training as hard as we want to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then within all of the calories and the macros and stuff like that, we have like meal prepping is a huge anchor for me. Like even when
Mm-hmm.
my kids were smaller, I was making my meals ahead of time, like um, for the next day, right? So that I
Mm-hmm.
could get through my day, like have the breakfast ready. I'd have my breakfast sandwiches while I was like driving the kids to school, because being prepared makes a huge difference. And so meal prepping is a huge way to be prepared, even if you have separate chicken baked for yourself and the kids are having chicken nuggets. Like that's a big thing for moms, you know, like we want to eat a certain way, but the whole rest of the family is not going to eat that way. And so like there's just like a lot of little tips and tricks when it comes to trying to figure it out when you are doing those things.
Yeah, I should have you come talk to some of our clients and members because I don't do a lot of meal prep. I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of do some last minute stuff for myself. And I just teach my clients like based on a status full guide.
Yeah, which I mean is great because a lot of people don't even know how to put their plates together. You
Right.
know, like that is something
Exactly.
that like even if I'm telling them, okay, this is your calories, like we're trying to hit a calorie goal, we're trying to hit a protein goal, but they don't know what that looks like through the day.
Yeah.
So they don't
Yeah.
know how to. They're like, okay, but so what does that
Pair
mean?
foods.
Yeah, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Right.
so this is what your plate should
Yeah,
look like. So then there's still another like element that has to go
definitely.
behind to support them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Yeah.
you came from a family where eating healthy and prioritizing vegetables and things like that didn't exist, then you don't know how to do that. And when you live with kids who like to eat chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese out of the blue box, it doesn't leave a lot of like, okay, well, I'm gonna have some broccoli, you know, like it,
Right.
like you're out of like you're outside the circle, right? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot that
But
goes
there's
into it.
something to be said too, though, for simple meal prep and small changes and adjustments that you can make as a parent,
Yeah, absolutely.
while you're getting things ready when your kids are
Right.
smaller or older or
And we put a
busy
lot
or
of it, yeah,
whatever.
we put a lot of it in our mind, like, oh, I can't make a whole separate, thing. Yeah, you can, because all you do is set in a pan and put it in the oven and like, well, that's baking too. Like,
Right.
but we set that on ourselves, like that those self-limiting beliefs that there's no way we can manage this. And so it's like small things. Okay, so if we're doing this,
Yes.
let's do this.
Yes. I
So
agree
yeah.
100%. So we've got consistent resistance training, we have protein, and I know for you, meal prep and what you like to teach your clients a lot is just planning ahead, whether it's grocery shopping, having some quick things on hand, or making actual meals. Is there anything else that you feel like are big anchors that you're teaching these women from all age brackets, moms or whoever it might be?
Just showing up, a 20-minute walk instead of the workout that you were doing, because what we find is like it's a circle of motivation, or because it goes both ways, right? So if we hit some steps or we hit a workout, then we are more likely to eat a better meal and then drink more
Mm-hmm.
water, and then it just creates like this positive circle, but it goes the other way. So your kid comes home early because they're not feeling well, so then you feel like, okay, I'm not going to get my workout, but so then we're just going to order pizza. And then you're going to have a glass of wine because you're so stressed out because you ordered pizza and you didn't hit your workout. And it's just like it goes both ways. So the more we can show up in the positive direction, the easier it is for us to keep going in the positive direction. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, we have all those setbacks, the weekends, the sporting events, the things like that. And so I really work hard with my moms that are in that space of everybody else is more important than them, than the mom themselves, that you have to be proactive in just doing the small things to make yourself important, which is a hard thing,
Yeah.
which is a hard thing.
That's so important. Mom guilt is a real thing. And
It
I'm not even a
100%.
mom,
Oh yeah.
right? But I hear it come up so much. And it's hard as a coach to share my thoughts on self care when my life is so different than maybe someone who has two, three, or even one kid.
Yeah.
And so I love that anchor that you shared is just like just show up. And I think to your point, women think that it has to be this grandiose
Mm-hmm.
habit or this grandiose action, 2-hour workouts and meal prep for all 5 days. but it is really just creating that mental habit and that showing up for yourself, even for that 20 minutes, or making that healthy decision to make the better breakfast, or even waking up 15 minutes earlier so you can just like take a shower before the house gets up or something,
Right,
right?
absolutely. So because a lot of it on self-limitation, right? Like I recognize that in myself where I mean if you start to do these things for a lot of times they don't even care. Like the kids are not that put out by the fact that you're spending an extra 10 minutes putting your food together. Maybe your spouse doesn't care about what it is you're doing. That could be depending on the spouse, like what you're doing.
Right.
But so women as moms, like we are, and I don't know if it's society or it's just self-trained that we have to do the most all the time. And so if we are starting out on like this diet, exercise train, if we're not automatically doing the most, we're not going to do it. Right. So we put ourselves in that all or nothing mindset. And I talk with a lot of moms that when we start their programming, everything is such a moderate pace. They're like, wait, so the first week I just have them like see if they can track their food well. Like I want to see what that looks like for them before I give them this calorie breakdown and macro breakdown. And because if they can't even track it, or if they aren't feeling like confident, or if it's overwhelming, like I'm not doing them any good. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we'll start a lot slower, and they're like, well, wait, like I'm only going to do this. I don't have to worry about my workouts this week. And I'm like, no, like let's start here, because they think like they're going to get this dictated meal plan. They think they're going to get this like super hard workout plan. And so sometimes it's overwhelming and it's scary. And so no one gets started because we think it has to be like this. And it absolutely doesn't. And it can be so much better if we are a little bit easier on ourselves and try to take things at a little bit of a slower pace so that we're more successful for the long haul. And creating a routine is extremely important. So that is another one
Mm-hmm.
of my actions, is having a routine. And I actually have a newer client who she was just talking about this the other day. And it was the same for me. Like I highly resonated with what she said, because when she was growing, she's like, I started creating like a morning routine where I got up a little early and I made everyone's breakfast. So it wasn't like we just popped out of bed, tried to rush everybody out the door, and then like the whole day already starts with chaos. And that is how I grew up also. Like we didn't have like a bedtime. We didn't have like a time where we got up and did this and did that and like stuck to like some kind of structure. So she was like, this is really great. Like, I feel like it's working really well for me. Like, and I feel really good about it. And it helps me like stay organized through the rest of the day. It's helped me stay organized for the rest of the week. And so, because sometimes when we think of routine and we think of structure, we think that it's going to limit ourselves, but it actually gives you more freedom in the end. And so, and a lot less stress, and you just feel a lot better about your experience overall. So, a routine is also what you'll see. I do my workouts all the week. I do my yogas on Sunday. I do, like I do a routine
Yeah, I see
because
that.
because it's essential.
I love that. So, say someone comes and wants to work with you. Do you usually work with clients mostly online or in person? How are you accepting clients now?
I am gearing towards primarily online. The clients that I have in person are either long-term clients or gym clients. That is a priority for the gym that I do train out of. And so because it allows me to help a lot more people with a limited time structure for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. And how can clients work with you? Are you only fitness programming? Is it nutrition included? Is it two separate things? How can
So
they
my
get started
one-on-one
with you?
coaching program is training and nutrition, because I do feel like they complement each other. And depending on the person, where we put the emphasis when they start out depends on where that person is in their journey. Like I have plenty of girls who are so good at like getting to their workouts and slamming it out and being consistent. So we have to work harder on like their nutrition. So we lay out the workouts and then we gradually progress their nutrition. Some people, like the routine client, she is really focusing right now on her nutrition. She has a little bit farther to go in the learning process. And so she's trying to not overwhelm herself, and we're just getting steps in. If we're getting other workouts done that she's doing at home, that's fine. So again, the awesome thing about one-on-one coaching is that everything is tailored to the individual to make them more comfortable and hope and more successful as they move along.
And how do you do your programming for your clients? Are you strength based? Are you functional training? Do you do mixed workouts in there? Like I know you do yoga and kickboxing.
Hmm.
Can you include that in with your clients' programs? What's your structures like?
So I actually have a kickboxing program, like programming, for some people, because it is based from like an old studio that I used to work at. So I do get a lot of people that used to attend there. But my primary training is strength training based. We do include a lot of modalities. And again, it's highly dependent on the equipment that the person has available, their fitness experience, and the way that they want to train. Because I do like to allow them freedom to do things that they enjoy. Because if all I ever did was go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much over long term. So I
Mm-hmm.
like to, we have a primary goal on hitting our strength training workouts, and then they get to include other things that they like. If it is someone who is looking for a little bit more cardio programming, I do that as well. But what I tend to like them to do is explore like other things that they enjoy, and we keep it really simple so that it doesn't feel over programmed, and so that they
Mm-hmm.
don't feel defeated if they can't make it to X, Y, and Z. So
Right.
I don't coach yoga or train yoga myself. I only go once a week. Sometimes it's not even every single week, which I think is funny because I do post like the little yoga selfies. And I was talking to Jill about this the other day, and she was like, "Well, what do people know about you?" And I said, "They always say like I go to yoga, like I'm some yogi." And I was like, "All I do is take a picture like once a week." So people really associate. I love it, and I go to yoga because it forces me to stretch because I won't stretch myself. It
Mm-hmm.
initially started like that, but it ended up turning into like a lot more of a healing experience and somewhat of a spiritual experience for me, which I was
Nice.
not expecting. And then so that also keeps me in it. And then as far as kickboxing, I enjoy it. I do work at a fight gym. I am the head fitness coach on their gym side. And so those are the types of clients that are looking for fat loss and learn how to use a gym and how to work out in a gym. That's where I come in. I do coach some of the classes, but I have no desire to be a fighter. It's just not my thing, but I do enjoy it because it's a good workout and it does give me something outside of the box, right? It
Yeah.
trains you in a different way. When I first started, actually took a as part-time job as a kickboxing coach just for to fill in the gaps of personal training, and I ended up really enjoying it, and it just kind of escalated from there. So it is really fun, and I do recommend it for people. It's a great stress relief, anger relief, right? Like
Yeah.
another form of therapy.
Yeah, and I think that's a great lesson because so many people might feel intimidated by the gym or going to yoga class or
Hmm.
taking a class, and then like to your point, like you just filled in for someone and then you ended up liking it and you became a coach. Like that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You never know what you're going to be apt towards or what's going to take your
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah. And the pole dancing was just something that I decided I wanted to do because it's fun. I love to dance, and a lot of the girls who take classes are people who have danced previously in their lives, and it just allows them to have somewhere where they can continue their love of dance. There are
Mhm.
some aspects to it that also I just did, like I participated in the spring show the other day.
I
Definitely
saw.
pushes you outside of your comfort zone, right? Like, I mean, I work around women all the time. I'm not very shy. We talk about body parts. We say a lot of things. But growing up, my mother never talked about a lot of things. And we were not like naked around each other, and like body confidence and just being able to be comfortable without clothes on was not something that was, I did not grow up with that. Right. So
Mhm.
it just takes you to another space to see things. And I really love like all of the body confidence that comes along in taking those classes. The women that are in there feeling good about themselves, feeling like they can do this, and that they have somewhere safe to be this like sexy person without being judged for it.
Right.
So there's a lot of elements to the things that I do. To I mean it's for me. Like the things that I do are for me. Like I kickbox for me, I dance for me, I train for me, and that was a big thing, like a big change in my life, right? I did not grow up in like I did not come up in a secure relationship. I did not come up in like a secure household, things like that. And so I had to take the initiative to do all of these things to better myself.
Wow. I have the chills again.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a journey for you, certainly.
It
And I know
absolutely
you've
has. And so also another reason I like working with older women, the person that we are, and I tell my daughter all the time, the female that you are at 25 is not the person that you are at 35, let alone 45. And as you grow through the years. So, I mean, you have all these like evolving things that happen as your life goes. And it's quite an experience. And so again, like I'm so lucky that I get to share all of these things, right? We have the beauty of social media to let people see like the things that we're doing, and with the kickboxing, strength training, all of these things, it's empowering for women. Like I love that because I can't tell you how many times I've seen like that little fire light up in somebody that like you just took that person up to another level. Like when I have a female who's never worked out before or never been in the gym, and she's like, "Can we put more weight on there?" And I'm like,
hell
"Yes, let's
yeah.
put some more weight on there." Like, and that they end up actually really loving the process of getting stronger. Like they love that
Mhm.
challenge. We as women are amazing people, and we're amazing creatures. And so we have all this like potential for so much. And I think for so many of us in so many situations, we have been put into these little corners and told to be smaller and told to be less, and that we were not capable or able to do all of these things. And we're fucking awesome, and we're out here slaying, and we're out here killing. I mean, when I see like a chick punch the bag and she's just like, oh, like you just see it, like you just see it in there. And I just like, I love it. It gives me goosebumps. Like, so even just talking
Yeah.
about it, like I get the chills too. So, and I'm so lucky that I get to do that every day.
Ugh, I love this. I love fitness. I love health.
Same,
It's just
same.
like there's nothing bad about it. I mean, there's bad shit in social media and marketing and the industry, the fat loss industry and all
Oh
that.
yeah.
But, when someone's introduced to this lifestyle and steps foot into this whole new world and this new person and this new identity, it's just like it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back once you feel so good and you realize like how much your quality of life and your quality as an individual can
1,000%,
increase.
1,000%.
And you talked about spiritual changes use like through yoga, like we equate health and fitness so much with the outside, with what are we doing with our diet, what are we doing with our workouts, but it's like there's so much shift and change that can happen on the mindset level with self-confidence and body image and support. And I never grew up supporting other women like until I got into sports,
Yeah.
and then I was like, fuck yeah, we're a team. It was always like a competition or
Oh
like who
yeah.
looked better than who or who's going to be mean to who today and who, until like you come together and then you're like, no, like we need to lift each other up. And so that's what I do love about
Yeah.
health is
Yeah.
just empowerment.
Womanhood it can be hard. There's a lot of like pettiness and things like that, but it also like the grouping of women is also very righteous at the same time. And so, yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could give you a big hug.
Oh, me too. Next workshop, next workshop.
Yeah, next workshop. Okay, so how can people find you and work with you? What are your social media handles and where can people connect?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. At Instagram, at PG Fitness _ and PG Fitness, same thing, on Facebook. I have a page there. Best way probably would be through Instagram because I'm most busy on Instagram. And I do have a website, pgfitness.net, if you wanted to check out any of my links and things like that. So I have the one-on-one coach training. I have a summer shape up challenge coming beginning of May. So we got a wait list going for that. Just a little workout challenge to kind of get everybody a little bit more body confident for the hot summer months.
Yeah. And how long is that program?
It's going to be 6 weeks, super fast, super easy, easy to
Awesome.
follow. It will be Facebook based and just workouts. I might throw in some extra little tidbits here and there as we go. I'm finishing all the details here in the next week or two. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Okay. Do people need to have access to a gym or can they do it from home?
It's going to be dumbbells only. We're going to just
Okay.
throw it out there. And so you could do it from
Perfect.
home. You can do it at the gym, wherever you want.
Super accessible.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for sharing. And, I like to end the podcast with asking all of our guests, like, what their favorite crave foods is. What are like the foods that give them the yum yums
Oh,
and just like kind of crave when you want that comfort or that, end of the night treat? What is it for you?
Ooh, for me, I would say I'm a sweet person. I love sweets.
Same.
I would say in the summertime, it's going to be ice cream. I'm going to go for some ice cream. And then in the wintertime,
You don't have winter. You live in
I know
California.
we've had so much rain. It's been so sad.
I
I
know.
know.
I know.
Gosh, I don't know. Like, I just don't keep it a lot of it on hand. So if I were to go somewhere, pie. I love me some pie.
What kind of pie?
Probably a good old cherry pie. Good old yeah.
Yum.
Nothing super crazy, super simple, but I'll
Yeah.
get down. But if you invite me out for some chili cheese fries, I'm down.
Okay.
Definitely
You're
down.
not going to say
Not
no.
gonna say or nachos. Chili cheese fries and nachos. That's my jam. If you wanna love me, that bring me those things.
Okay.
If
Hey,
you
gentlemen, are
Yeah,
you
that's
listening?
right. If you have any hot guys that want to take me on a date, I'm not gonna say no to nachos. That's how it
And
goes.
then ice cream after. Well, thanks for being on, Patty, and excited we got a chance to chat. And I know that you're going to be inspiring a lot of women with our conversation. So thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Of course, you're welcome.